Greetings. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a reflection on the readings for the seventh Sunday of the seventh Sunday of Pentecost in the church calendar. And this is Trinity Place from Geneva, New York. When I have stories that feature John the Baptist like we do today in the beheading of John, I repeatedly feel the need to pay our respects to the Mandaeans, followers of John the Baptist, that continue in the world today. That there are roughly 70,000 Mandaeans spread from Indonesia to Iraq to Sweden. And they have their own sacred text, the Ginza, and they continue to baptize every week rather than once in a lifetime. Whereas Christians have turned baptism into a once-in-a-lifetime sacrament, the Mandaeans use it in many celebrations from weddings to funerals. Well, the Mandaeans will also speak the unique form of Aramaic, a language we assume was Jesus' first tongue. But that said, I feel quite uninspired by Mark's peculiar and somewhat inaccurate review of events from so long ago. I must confess that sometimes I suffer from BFS, Bible fatigue syndrome. That's not a great ailment for a preacher to admit to, but it may be a professional hazard, I don't know. Sometimes I get tired of translating arcane stories into contemporary meaning. Sometimes, not too often, but sometimes, I look at the readings assigned out of the lectionary and I say to myself, really? This again? Anyway, I know I've got Bible fatigue when I feel that way, even with one of my very favorite prophets, Amos. Amos encountered that kind of fatigue, though. You see, early in this short book of the prophet Amos, Amos talks God out of an angry and torturous punishment of Israel. The threat was of a scourge of locusts followed by consuming fire. But 7 chapters into this 9-chapter book, Amos has given up talking God out of anything. He silently kind of shrugs the nation as he is compelled to report to the king and the priest of the temple and the false prophets of Israel yet another vision of destruction. The plumb line. The plumb line is dangled and the nation doesn't measure up again. So Amos warns that the wall of iniquity, Israel, will fall. Amos doesn't even try to talk God out of it this time. And in biblical literature, talking God out of smiting people is a prophet's superpower. I forgot to mention that last week when I was talking about prophets, but they have this special gift of soothing divine indignation. But Amos doesn't even use his superpower this time in calming God. He just lets the bad news hang in the air there because he knows God's right. He knows that the people are going to just fail again to measure up to God's requirements. Well, now, I feel a very special kinship or relationship to that image of the plumb line because I'm one of those people who can't even draw a straight line, even with a ruler or a square. When I used to make things, I couldn't make a square corner if my life depended on it. I think I just see crooked. How about that? I used to watch my dad work on projects and build beautiful things that came out square and level and smooth, but not me. I'd be the one listening to that image from Amos of the wall leaning away from the vertical plumb line, and I'd say, well, yeah, that looks pretty straight to me. But Bible fatigue has taken hold of my mind this week, and I looked at this personal favorite from Amos and that terribly interesting beheading of Mark, and I shrugged my shoulders. So what? What's in it for us, I wondered. So I'm very grateful this week to Robert Francis for his more immediately accessible poem, the punchline of which is, "Here I sit between the known and the unknown. Nothing was far that once was near. Nothing is hid that once was clear. Nothing was God that is not here. Here I sit between the known and unknown." Well, if it doesn't get me into too much trouble with God, I'm going to play prophet for a moment and echo this poem and leave Amos and Mark to speak for themselves. And that may be the kindest and wisest thing I ever did for Amos and Mark. Anyway, here is the wisdom I want to leave us with today, because there is no deeper, no greater wisdom that I know of anyway, about God and life, the life of the Spirit. God is available to us. God is available to us. But not in the past, and not in the future. Only here, only now. God is not available to us in the past or the future. Only here, only now. The past can show us tracks, the footprint of the holy on human history, but it's not God. The future is total mystery, toward which we can only blow a kiss and wish. God exists only here, only now, only in the present. Our struggle, as Francis points to in the poem, is that we wander constantly between the past and the future, the known and the unknown, a pinball bouncing off of each. We tend to linger with our memories and savor sentiment and pine for how it used to be. We reach for what's next and anticipate with great desire or anxiety what is yet to come. But rarely do we sit alone between known and unknown, present to the moment, present with God. Now, I'm not wise enough to know why we're so bad at this, but I do know that to sit alone in the present can be filled with anxieties and ghosts and pain and all manner of dread. It is a place we do not go, because to be alone in the present moment is to see and to hear and to feel things that unsettle us. And yet, there is that place, there in that place, in the midst of those things, both underneath them and among them, is God. It's the only place God is. Let's just sit with that for a moment. We go looking for God in cathedrals and shrines in the Grand Canyon and Lakeside, when God is present in a diner or a recliner or in the shower, for crying out loud. When we get good at turning off the noise around us and listening to the noise that is within us and allow it all to settle just a little bit, not trying to get rid of it, but listening through it, then we begin to notice the presence of something or someone there in the stillness of the alone moment with us. We cannot find God in Scripture nor in nature. We only find tracks there, tracks that resonate God's presence in the past. But God is not there. Not in the grand beauty of the natural world, not in the intricacies of Scripture. God is here, right now, right here, in each present moment. If I were a prophet, that's the message I would proclaim. If we seek God in the present moment, we may not only discover God, but we will discover more nearly ourselves. Peace be with you.